Okay, this is the review for the S20 Ultra 5G. In the box you get the phone, you get the 25 watts super fast charger, you get some ear tips for the headphones, you've got the AKG headset, USB Type C, and you've got the USB Type C to Type C cable, and also you get the SIM ejector. Okay, this is the S20 Ultra and this is last year's S10 Plus. As you can see, the S20 Ultra is taller. It's wider, right? And if you look on the side, you can see that the S20 Ultra is thicker. The S20 Ultra weighs 220 grams, which is a heavy phone, and what makes it feel more premium, which is, feels good in the hand. And I haven't had any issues with the size yet, so as long as you get a good case, you're all set. Okay, in my opinion, this is a fine piece of hardware. It's a flagship phone, Ultra design. The Ultra design coming in with the largest screen to date, a massive 6.9 inches Quad HD plus dynamic AMOLED Infinity O display with a Gorilla Glass 6 with the resolution. It's a multi-resolution, but the highest resolution you can get on this phone is 3200 by 1440. On top of that, you also get the 120 hertz refresh rate with the option to switch back and forth between 120 hertz to 60 hertz. Okay, so the 120 hertz refresh rate is only available at 1080p, and so if you want that smoother display, you're gonna have to only use 1080p. What 120 hertz means is when you're scrolling and you're, come on, unlock. So when you're scrolling, when you're switching apps, navigating your way through the phone, and all the animation that you get to witness, it's all liquid smooth. So if you stick to the full resolution, you only get 60 hertz, and 120 hertz is only at 1080p, and also 120 hertz uses more battery life. So you have to basically choose between both of those, and also 120 hertz is great for gaming, so bear that in mind. Okay, to be honest with you, you won't notice much of a difference with the display as you shift from Quad HD to Full HD. So I mean, if you're a techie, you might notice it, but really, you won't really notice much. The screen comes with a factory fitted screen protector, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't have to go out and buy one for myself. That saves me money. Okay, let me just show you the display. Display on this is amazing. It just looks awesome. It's at the full resolution. So, and as you can see, this is an amazing display. The notch really doesn't get in the way like last year. But look at this. This is amazing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this year the edges are less curved, so more screen, less frame, and almost no bezel. As you can see, the bezel is very, very thin, and also the cutout is there's just one circular cutout for the camera. And so what less curvature, obviously, on the edges, which also means that you have a better grip. Last year's grip, because the S10 Plus was curved, it was harder to grip the phone. So this year, well done, Samsung. Okay, the brightness of the phone is very impressive. I've been outside with the phone a couple of times, and the sun's glare really doesn't get in the way of anything. And it's as you can see, that's the low brightness, and that's the high brightness. Is very, very high when it comes to the brightness. Okay, so front and back of the phone built with Gorilla Glass 6, It's scratch resistance, it's a IP68 rating, so water resistance, dust resistance, splash resistance. You also get the in-display fingerprint scanner. Let me show you. Boom. Right, it's from last year, so the speed isn't that great, but it still does the job. Okay, on the top you have the cutout for the front camera, which is 40 megapixel, but it ranges to 10 megapixel. And this it can also be turned off. So there's a way you can turn off, and then what it does, it takes a chunk of the screen off and turns it black. So so you can't see the cutout if that's what you. I mean, if you don't like the cutout, that is. On top of that, there's facial recognition, but it's not 3D facial recognition on the phone. On the edge, you have the power button, right? Power button and the volume button on the right. On the top, we have the SIM and slash micro SD card tray slot and microphone. The SIM tray accepts 2 nano SIM cards or 1 nano SIM and 1 micro SD. On the bottom, you have you have bloody hell. On the bottom, you have the USB-C port and the downward facing firing speaker, and there's no headphone jack, with nothing on the left, no dedicated Bixby button. Awesome. Okay, the phone is huge, and given that they didn't make the screen curved or as curved as last year, it's easier to grip. But if you've got small hands, you can probably, you can use what they call the single-handed mode. Let me do it. Single-handed mode, but it's not practical. How many times are you going to do that? So it's gonna be a phone that you have to use both your hands on. So yeah, you're gonna have to get used to that. It's not gonna be practical, but yeah, that's all I can say. Okay, so on the back of the phone, we have the quad camera setup, which is encased in this huge rectangular bumper, as you can see, and it protrudes. It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, right? Now, although it sticks out, so given that it sticks out, you're gonna have the wobble effect, right? You're gonna have that wobble effect. So if you get a case, you can level out that bump, and then you'd have a less wobble effect. So if you do get this phone, make sure you get a case. Okay, when it comes to the cameras, on the top left, we have the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Just below that, you have the 108 megapixel wide angle camera, which gives you millions of more pixels for detailed shots, so you can crop without losing detail. But by default, it shoots at 12 megapixel. It shoots 12 megapixel images. Right below that, you have the 48 megapixel telephoto camera, and right here on the right, you have the time of flight depth vision cameras, which help to process depth information. So with this camera setup, Samsung gives us 10x hybrid optic zoom, all the way up to 10x space zoom. Now, Samsung likes to brag about their 100x space zoom, but I don't know why they brag about it, because when you get to 100x zoom, it's just terrible. The image quality is just really bad. But they do give you a very wide range for zoom options, so you can capture at 0.5x, 1x, 2x, 4x, 5x, 10x, 30x, and all the way to 100x. But when you get to 100x, like I said, it's just really bad. But the range is still huge. You can still get great shots at 4x. After 4x, AI takes over. The camera setup has larger image sensors and AI. So now you can take pictures in the dark, so it lets more light come in, and the pictures are more detailed. And even at night, you get like very bright images without the flash. Okay, also with the cameras, you can have 8K videos on which you can pull out 33 megapixel images straight from the 8K video. Now, what you have to realize is almost no one can watch them. I mean, you can watch them on the phone, but TVs that are sold today are full HD or 4K. So, and there's only a few like 8K TVs out there, so it's still a tech that's rolling out. And when it comes to 8K TVs, they're mad expensive. So, you have to kind of wait around before all that stuff rolls out. All you really need to do is set the phone to 4K at 60 frames per second. So for me, that's it. That's all you need. And the pictures, and or the video are, still amazing. Videos are sharp and colorful. Also with the Samsung camera, right, what you get is called is the single take. Now the single take is basically as a setup. What you do is basically you swipe right here, you see single take, you swipe to the right, and then you press the button, and for 10 seconds, right, it takes images, and it takes a variety of formats including GIFs, so you can choose which you prefer without missing out on that specific moment that you took the picture. So yeah, it's like a new thing that Samsung put out. So yes, it's useful. I've used it a couple of times. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. You get also with the camera setup, you get super steady, stabilized video with AI. You've got super slow mo. So that's at 960 frames per second. You've got front and back 4K. So when it comes to that, both front and back rear cameras can shoot in stunning 4K, and you can seamlessly switch between the two. So while you're recording that's while you're recording. So 4K at the front, 4K at the back, and that's a very flexible camera. You've got 3D scanner. That's an application that you have to download from the Samsung store. And what it does, it turns real life objects into 3D animation. You've got night mode, you've got night hyperlapse. So it's a lot of stuff Samsung is putting out there for us to utilize. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, moving on to the processor. My S20 Ultra 5G has Samsung's own Exynos 990 5G with 12 GB RAM, but it also comes in 16 GB RAM. And they have this thing called 7nm, and what 7nm is like a process, right? So well, it's not like a process. It's the distance between what it is. It's the distance between transistors printed on the surface of a silicon chip, and the measurement is in nanometers. So 1 nanometer, 1 nm is a billionth of a meter. Currently, processors that you find in like laptops, computers, and all that other tech, it ranges from 14 nm to 35 nm. Now, the lower the measurement, the better and faster the processor performs. So if 14 is the where it starts from, the range, and you've got a 7 nm gap between the transistors, that means your phone is going to be like super duper fast, right? So that's something you got to take into account when it comes to the S20 Ultra. Now the phone comes in a global version with Snapdragon 865. I can't comment on the 865, but what I can say is from what I've read, the Snapdragon 865 is better with performance based on like the Geek benchmarks and the Antutu marks that I got. There's like so when it comes to like thermal regulation, the Snapdragon performs better. So as the temperature is going up on the phone, because it's being used intensively, Snapdragon kind of like brings down the temperature if it can sense that the temperature is going up, which is awesome. So based on what I've read, there's a gap of 10 to 20% difference in the performance between the Snapdragon and the Exynos 990. So to actually visually see where Exynos is underperforming with against the Snapdragon 865, what you have to do is you have to be gaming for a prolonged time. So this is where you'd see like based on the kind of game you're playing. So if it's an intensive graphics game, then you're gonna notice lags, and so that's what you would see it. Other than that, if you're just a general user, it's not really an issue. But if you're really into all that stuff, then that's something that you're gonna have to do to find out or see the difference. The camera is also better on the Snapdragon. The power efficiency is also better with the Snapdragon. So Exynos does fall behind. So if you do decide to get this phone, go ahead and get the global version. And yeah, that's all I can say. Okay, so this is the score I got on Geekbench for the S20 Ultra. Okay, despite what I said about the Snapdragon 865 being better performance wise and stuff, if you're in the UK and you get this Exynos 990, you'd be fine as well. I mean, these are things that are like performance driven stuff. So like it's when you're trying to push the you're trying to push the processor to its edge. So if you're just a regular user like me or your average day consumer, you are going to be fine with either chip. So with that being said, let's move on to the next topic. Okay, so powering the phone is a huge 5000 milliamp battery. After testing for a week with the 120 hertz super fast screen refresh option, which makes the scrolling and animation and some of the content liquid smooth, it will consume the battery more than when you're using let's say the 60 hertz. So what you would do to switch between the two, right? You would go to display and right here motion smoothness. Now like I said, you have to switch to full HD, apply that, then you go back to your display, motion refresh rate, and then you can go to your higher refresh rate. So on the 120 hertz, like I said, the battery will be consumed faster, right? And with the 60 hertz, you'd be okay, just like the old model, the S10 Plus. So with the 120 hertz, you would end up with, or after using it for a whole day, you'd end up with, well, what I ended up with was about 35%. And with the 60 hertz, you'd end up with about 40 to 45% in battery at the end of the day. That's with like, your average consumption of the phone. So like I'm talking, WhatsApp, Snapchat, internet, maybe a little bit of camera, some gaming. Not highly intensive, just bang in the middle. So you'd be okay with all that. Okay, but when you're using the camera, it drains a lot of the battery and really quickly. So if you use 8K or 4K, that will consume the battery a lot quicker than, doing anything else. So on average, a full charge would last more than a day. So if you charge it at 100% and then let's say, you run the whole day doing a few things on the phone, and then the next day, at that night, you don't charge the phone and you wake up in the morning, you'd have about 30, maybe a little above 30% in charge. But obviously, if you use the optimization options, like the power mode, here you can turn off 5G, you can turn off the always on display, limit the CPU usage, brightness, screen resolution. If you optimize these options, the phone with these options, then you're likely to save the battery about, I don't know, about 40%. From my experience, about 50%. So you can do that if you want to. Most of us won't do all this highly intensive stuff, so we're just going to be using it for our daily, like WhatsApp messages, browsing the internet, emails, taking photos, and all that stuff. So yeah, just bear that in mind. You have the optimization options, and you can also adjust optimization options. You can turn things off, you can turn them on, turn them off. Brightness, you can adjust it or not decrease or whatever. You can reset them, you can do all sorts. And also the gaming will drain the battery like crazy, especially at 120 hertz, because with 120 hertz you're gonna get epic gaming visuals, the graphics, the animation, but the battery will go down like crazy. On top of that, you've got this big 6.9-inch display, and that's why they probably put in a 5000 milliamp, a big battery, because they got all this stuff, the 120 hertz, the resolution, the 6.9-inch display. I mean, that's why they did it. Okay, so Samsung's S20 Ultra and all the other S20s, they come with Samsung's One UI, One UI 2, right? Where is it? I don't think I know how to get there, do I? Well, the software they use on this phone is called One UI 2, and as you can see, the interface is very simple. You can go through your apps, you can go through your apps, you can switch between videos, apps. The navigation is very simple. You've got the gestures. You can change the gestures to what you want. I mean, it's very simple, and it's smooth. I mean, I don't have an issue with the One UI 2, and they're always sending updates, not regularly, but when there is an update. There's updates for all sorts of things like the camera, the One UI. There's so much Samsung is doing currently just to improve the phone. But the software, I think it's amazing. It's on top of Android 10, but yeah, it's awesome. So like I said, the interface is real simple. You can change the settings. There's a lot of features advanced features. You can change your display, the wallpaper, theme. There's a lot of advanced features that you can mix around with. They've got the Bixby routine, and this is pretty cool. It's like an if else. So if the time is at 8 o'clock, then do this, do that. And this is just if you're at home, then you've got like things for the phone to do on its own if you're at work. So if you start work at 9 a.m., then at 9 a.m., turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off this so you're not disturbed at work so you can get your work done. You've got before bed, save battery. You can just make your own things for school, charging. You can change the settings as well. So say in the morning you want always on display, but then at the same time you can turn that off. You can add NFC, turn that on or off, Wi-Fi on or off, do not disturb, keyboard sounds. There's so much you can do on this phone, right? Now, as you know, Samsung always sends out the phone and it has all their not bloatware, but I mean, yeah, bloatware, let's just say call it bloatware. But the thing is, most of the stuff you can uninstall, and stuff like calendars, messengers app, you'd use those things anyway, or you can download your own. But a lot of the stuff you can uninstall. One of the things about the Samsung's One UI 2, right, is this thing on the right. So once you swipe on the homepage and you swipe to the right, is this welcome to the Samsung Daily. So this is like some kind of news app, and a lot of people don't like it. But what you can do is you can turn it off right here, and you can go on about your day and not even worry about it. Now the Samsung Daily is the new, I think it's the new one, because before they used to before they had before it was the Bixby Home, and then they had what was it, the update, and then they had the Flipboard. So yeah, they keep bringing out new stuff, but like I said, you can turn it on if you like it or turn it off. So there's nothing to worry about with that thing on the right. I gotta turn it off so it's not there anymore. But there's so much you can do on this phone. There's so many options. The RAM is huge. So like I said, you can pick your top 5 applications, right? Say YouTube, let's say, what else? Let's say Facebook. And then what you can do is you can pin these to your memory, because you've got such a huge amount of RAM. You can hold down the logo, keep it for quick launching, and then you got YouTube, keep it for quick launching. And what you see these lock symbols, what these lock symbols mean is that these applications are locked into the memory, so they use the RAM that's not being used. So if you try to swipe them away, they come back. So they're locked into the memory, so they will always quick launch. Whereas your other ones that are not in the memory lock or locked into memory, you can just get rid of them. So, but you can only do them with 5 applications. So you pick your top 5, and then the applications that you need, you can always keep them locked into the memory. Other than that, there's, like I said, there's the Bixby routine. You can customize the camera. So right here, you can go to more, and then these things, you can put them in. You can put the Lap Pro, drag it into your options that you want to use, hyperlapse. You can do all sorts with the phone. And like I said, Samsung is sending out updates. there's all these advanced features that you can play around with. Where is it? So you've got the smart pop-ups, screenshots. So that's just basic stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the phone. The side key, you can change the Bixby. By default, the phone comes with the power button is the Bixby button, but you can change it to, like I changed it here, to the power menu. And if you prefer the Bixby button, then you can keep it as the Bixby button. You can change the quick launch, so the double tap and then open up the camera, or you can pick an app of your own, or it could just be Bixby. If you do decide to use the power button as Bixby, right, you're gonna press it and it opens up Bixby, right? But what you can, to turn off the phone, you'd have to go down here, up here, press the power button, and then you've got your screen. There are so many advanced features on this. I just can't remember everything. But yeah, if you do get the phone, there's a lot you can do with this phone. But just if you want to know, I mean, what I'm trying to say is the question is the phone worth well, in the UK is 1,200 for the Cosmic Black, 12 GB RAM, 128 GB storage. It's not worth it. Don't get this phone if you're on a budget. It's just not worth it. I mean, it's just way too much. 1,200. That's way too much for a phone. I mean, it's still flagship. It's not it's not a flip phone, a foldable screen. I mean, if this was 800, 700, max 800, that's how much I would pay for this. I don't know why I got this, but I mean, yeah, to review it obviously. But if I was a consumer, would I pay this? Would I, if I was a actual, like a solid consumer just looking to get a phone, would I buy this and keep this phone for 1,200? No, I would go back to the shop or go back to whatever wherever I bought it from, and then I'd get a refund and then look for the next best thing. Because I mean, yeah, it's got the 108 megapixel camera and the 100x space zoom, but it's just way too expensive. You know, I mean, you don't need that much RAM in a phone anyway, you know. So with that being said, do subscribe, like my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.